Coach, obviously it wasn't ideal for Hendon to go down, but how much of a jump start was that for Joe to be able to start Vandy and have the success he did in the bowl game?
Yeah, I think that's always big. There's no substitution for actual playing time on the field. As much as you want to rep in practice, as much as he does off the field, there's nothing like standing back there with live bullets. So, like you said, obviously not a great situation the way it occurred, but the fact that he got those 2 games under his belt before taking it over this year, huge for his development and huge for our team to see the level at which he played. They have a ton of confidence in him after that game.
Joey, how different of a guy or a quarterback is Joe Milton today compared to the quarterback that took the field for his first day of practice 2 years ago?
Yeah, he's a completely different guy, even the way you first said it, not just player, but his attention to detail is elite. He came back after that Clemson game, and he was hungry to keep learning, to keep pushing forward. He didn't rest on his laurels and be like, all right, cool, I figured it out. He pushed. I think he saw the success that he had, and he knows what his talent can do, and now his mentality is matching that as far as how much he wants to learn, how much he's just consuming the game at all times. It's fun to be a part of right now, and it's a special mindset that kid has.
What kind of run after catch ability do you think your group of wide receivers brings to the table?
I think we have elite run after catch ability. You got different types of guys. You got Squirrel, who's a 10-4 guy, and I might have just shorted him his time, how fast he actually ran, but that elite level speed that can run around an entire defense. You got Brew, who runs the ball like he's a linebacker, and then you got a bunch of young guys out there who are just ball in hand, lightning quick, can go long speed. So there's been a lot of emphasis on, like, all right, how do we just get these guys the ball? It doesn't always have to be 50 yards down the field. How do we get them the ball, get them in space, and let them go do their thing? It's going to be fun to watch.
Casey in the back, and then Noah up front.
Joe and Hendon had such a strong relationship when Hooker was still here, but what about the bond that can be built or has started to be built between Nico and Joe? Have you seen that develop through the bowl game practices and spring practices yet, or how beneficial could it be if they do develop that same type of relationship?
Yeah, they're already extremely close. I think Nico getting here in December and having those 15 bowl practices and then coming to the bowl site where he just got to be around the guys. He was new, so they didn't really know him, but he just got to be around. Everyone got to, I like this guy. He's a good dude. He's just a normal kid. And now it's almost like big brother, little brother relationship with the two of them. You rarely see Joe without Nico. So it's been great for him to kind of see the way, like, a quarterback should operate on a day-to-day level. Joe's been a great mentor to him, and he's really helping bring along his development on and off the field.
Coach was in here a minute ago and said that Ramel Keaton's a guy that's put in a lot of hours. Obviously, it's well documented Jalen did the same thing last year. How much of that did Jalen kind of motivate, you think, these guys, this wide receiver room, to do the same?
Yeah, I think it's whenever you see someone have the success that they had on the field, whenever you can kind of like engineer that backwards and see, like, all right, well, why? Like, what changed from year 1 to year 2 for Jalen? And it was completely the way he approached the game, like what I said with Joe. And you see Ramel, it's rare to be in this building and not see Ramel in there on some form of the jugs machine, catching deep balls, short crossers. Like, he is in there all the time getting his stuff in. And he did that. He's done that in the past. But I think he feels an opportunity. And he's to me, trying to mirror what Jalen did. I have an opportunity when Velas left, right? So he took the most of it. Well, now with some guys leaving the program, I think Ramel feels like he has that opportunity, and he's putting in the work so he can try to take advantage of it.
Ryan, second row here on the left, and then David up front.
Is there a real significance to the chemistry Joe built with Ramel and Squirrel last year on second team, or is that something us in the media can kind of overblow?
I think it's kind of like I said with the game reps, like there's no substitute for it. As much as you can get out there and throw with the guys you're throwing to, it helps. You know, you see whenever a quarterback in the NFL changes a team, right, he gets the receivers together and starts throwing because guys have different speeds. They see things differently. So it's absolutely an advantage that they've really had almost 2 years working together, and now they're all kind of trying to take that step up into the next role as well. So I don't think it's overblown, but not to say that he won't have great chemistry with Brew, you know what I'm saying, or the guys that have been here in the past. So it's a very helpful thing, but it's not just the end-all be-all for how it's all going to fit together.
Joe, when you mentioned that Joe has a greater attention to details, what are some examples you've seen of that over the offseason? And secondarily, with as much experience as you guys have in the offense, how much can you add to tweaks and offshoots of stuff that you guys have done the first 2 years in the offense?
Yeah, so for Joe, a lot of it is all right, not just knowing what the pass routes were. He could have told you what all the pass routes were. That's not what it was. But, okay, why are we calling things in certain situations? And if he's knowing the why we're doing things in certain situations, like why is this coming up as opposed to this, it helps him understand, well, where do I want to get with this ball? Where do my eyes start? In the run game, he can tell you all the calls that the O-line's making now, which helps him, well, if this is an RPO, am I reading this guy? Am I reading that guy? What about pressure? What about field pressure, internal pressure? How are they picking up? Are they picking it up? He has a huge understanding of that now. It's extremely detailed, which allows him to just go play free. Just go let his talent take over because he's not trying to see everything at the same time. When you understand, like, I am protected or I'm not. This run is blocked or it's not. Well, now you can just get your eyes in the right spot and go be a big, talented guy, which he is. The second question was what?
How much can you add to the offense in terms of tweaks or offshoots?
Yeah, that's been a big focus of our offseason is, we are who we are, but we've got some guys with some specific skill sets that we feel like our job as a staff is to take those skill sets and let them show them off on Saturdays. So a lot of it has gone into like, all right, well, what's good for this specific guy? Not just who we are, we're going to do what we do, but what is good for this guy? What is good for this guy? How do we get him in a situation that benefits his skill set? And we'll play to that as well.
Brent, then Wes.
Yeah, Coach, Joe said at SEC Media Days that early on, previous stops in here, he had a hard time putting a play behind him, previous play. How do you coach that out of somebody to where the focus is on the next play? And secondly, how do you use him in the run game compared to how you used Hendon in the run game?
Yeah, a lot of that is just training the mind to anger doesn't help you. It's like, all right, cool. It's a quote-unquote failure on that last play. It's something that didn't go. Just file it away. Learn something from it and move on. That's been the biggest thing from him. Like, I don't know why I did that. Okay, cool. Let's figure out why. Okay, that's why this play didn't work, whether my eyes were in the wrong spot, my fundamentals were wrong, my play fit, whatever it was. All right, cool. Let's learn from that and then file it away and grow from it. That's been the thing that he's done. That's why you've heard what he said, like, I couldn't put plays behind me. It's because he was just thinking about them instead of saying, all right, let me learn from it. I learn from it and I move on. That's how he's been able to grow on that area right there. What did you say the second question was?
Run game without getting specific, obviously.
Yeah, he's different. Hendon played around, 218-ish. Joe's 235, 240. So big guy like that, you can do a lot of fun stuff that can run. Obviously, the running a quarterback, we all understand you got to be smart and pick your times to do it. So I'm sure there'll be times where we feel like in a certain game for certain looks, okay, maybe we lean on it a little bit more. But with what we got in the backfield too, Joe can do some stuff, but we're not going to take away from those guys.
Joey, on sort of a daily basis now, how different is your job from what it was? And I know you had the ball game to kind of get some stuff started, but just in terms of, time management, being with different groups throughout the day, how's that different? And who's helping you, now with the quarterbacks even more? Yeah, the guys I got working with me in the quarterback room, Mitch and Jack, are amazing. They do a great job. Trust them completely, wholeheartedly. It's mainly been, now you're running the meeting, so on the front end of it, everything has to be prepared instead of walking in, waiting to hear, okay, what we're doing, and then how does this just affect my quarterbacks? That's the main difference is the setup for the day. I have to be making sure it makes sense for everybody, not just taking in what I'm hearing and then making sure it makes sense for the quarterbacks and only looking through it, that scope. I got to look through it through the scope of, well, is this right for the tackle? Is this good for the backs? Is this good for the receivers? Is it good for the tight ends? Not just does it affect my position, which we did as a staff. I've said it a bunch since I've taken over this job, extremely communal in the way we operate and we work. But for me on the front end, I have to be more intentional about an entire offensive scope and not just a quarterback scope.
Blake on the back right here, and then Rick up front.
Hey, Joey, we've seen the last couple of years that sometimes you can need two quarterbacks to get through a season. If y'all were to need Nico early in the season for whatever reason, what would your level of confidence be in leaning on him?
Huge confidence in him. That guy is mature beyond his years. He didn't come in like a true freshman. He came in, wanting to learn, not thinking that highly rated recruit, I got it figured out. Like he came in understanding like I want to learn, I need to know. And then the way that guy just has his calmness on the field, his just demeanor, I think the guys believe in him as well, that if he's called upon to do a job, like that dude will step in and compete at a high level and perform at a high level. So we have a ton of confidence in that guy.
Rick up front.
Joe, if you would, remind us kind of what you saw from Dante Thornton when you guys brought him in, what you saw on tape. And then last year, or during the spring, we heard that he had just freaky talent, but he was still learning to figure out the scheme. How do you feel like that's gone over the summer and him preparing for the fall coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, he does, to use her word, he has freaky talent. A guy that size that can run like that is rare. You know, there's good players, and then there's guys that have rare traits. Like that guy is extremely rare in what he can do on a football field. And yeah, whenever we come in and it's completely different than what most people do. So there's a learning curve. He's done a great job. He spends as much time with the quarterbacks as anybody. He's always with Joe as well. Like, all right, how do you want that? How do you see that? Like, do you see it the way I'm seeing it? So he's, once again, not an older guy that's come in like, I got it, kind of trying to be a mercenary. He's trying to learn too and trying to do it the way we do it. So really happy with where he's at. Now it's, you know, tomorrow's time to go show that you got it.
Adam and Patrick here on Coach's right.
We've asked about how much Joe knows about the offense compared to 2 years ago, but how much do you guys as coaches know about Joe's skill set and how that can be utilized in the offense compared to 2 years ago?
Yeah, his accuracy has grown so much. His touch has grown so much because he's dialed into fundamentally changing a little bit. You know, he had the classic thing, he has a naturally powerful arm. So a lot of times you can just get away with things. He has taken a huge growth in using his lower body, not trying to rip the ball with his upper body every time, and his accuracy has just jumped through the roof right there. Now, with that big, powerful arm, like, he can put the ball out on the perimeters really quick. So, like, he gives you some ways to stretch the field, not just vertically with the arm, but laterally as well. So that guy can do anything you ask him to, and now he's doing it at a higher, consistent level. And that's why you're going to see the jump from that year one to now.
Joey, Coach Heupel likes to talk about, particularly freshmen who get here early, when they go through the spring, they have the summer to sort of kind of review everything and get better and make a big jump. What are you hoping to see from Nico when you guys get on the field tomorrow? What are some of the things that you've seen him grow from what you saw in the spring?
Yeah, I think he did a great job in spring. Just to start there is, you know, getting thrust into the 2 reps, which a lot of freshmen come in and they're going against other freshmen. You know what I'm saying? Well, he's going in there against linebackers that have played 4 years of college football already and Coach Banks has his entire disposal of his defense at him. So he did a great job handling that. Anytime going from spring to summer, that is a huge time. Coach Hype's exactly right to make jumps in the quarterback position. So I'm looking for him to be more defined with his eyes, like not trying to figure out what am I getting, have a clearer picture of like, that's what I'm getting, this is where my eyes go, and that's where the ball goes. So you just keep growing in that, and that's really quarterback play in general. Eliminating quickly, getting the ball out of your hand with accuracy. And that all comes from understanding more of your offense, more understanding of defense. Same thing I was saying with Joe, like, am I protected or not? Because if you don't know, you're going to watch the rush. So if you don't have to watch the rush because you know you're protected, your eyes are up and they're in the right spot. So all of the intricacies of quarterback play, that's where I'm looking to see that growth from spring to fall camp.
To the back, Paige and Carter.
Brew McCoy, now been in the program about a year now. Where have you seen him make most strides now being in the system a year?
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's completely changed his body from getting here. The guy's in amazing shape. He has such an intricate knowledge of what we're doing and how we're trying to accomplish it now that it's kind of like I said with Joe. It's fun to watch him just go play now. And now a big, strong, fast guy is going and playing really strong and really fast. So it's been great to see him once again not be a transfer that feels like they got everything figured out. Hey, coach, just tell me the plays and I'll go play. Of actually wanting to improve himself, his skill set, all of that. And now you're going to see that once again. Like, I feel like he'll take another huge jump this year.
Coach, you spend a lot of time with Hype and, throughout the years. What to you makes him such a great offensive mind in football?
2 things, and they almost sound a little bit contradictory, is one, he doesn't stray from who he is. He knows who he is. He knows who we are, and he's going to push that. He's going to make sure that that's the way it's handled. But he doesn't typecast him so much that he doesn't allow himself to think of new things, creative things, and then also, like I was saying, being specific to players. He always asks the question, does that work for him? You come up with a cool play design. All right, I think this is all right, cool. Is that the right route for him? Is he good at that? Does someone else need to go there, or does the whole thing need to get canned? So he makes you think of the actual players and not just the plays. Like he's going to stay true to who he is, but he's going to make sure what we're doing makes sense for the guy that's standing there on the field. Because if they're not ready to do it or they're not capable of doing it, doesn't matter how good the design is, it's not going to work.
On the left here, Eric, then Ben.
2 things. You've mentioned the work habits of Ramel Keaton a couple different times, but what does he do well as a receiver, and where has he grown the most? And secondly, if you got about 4 receivers you feel really good about, how do you find out which 3, kind of get the bulk of playing time?
Yeah, Ramel, he's an elite deep ball threat. You've seen that last year when he stepped in for Cedric. That guy can track a deep ball at a really high level, and he's got deceptively long speed on people because he's a long strider. So he's a great threat right there, and he has very natural ball skills. You've seen him make a ton of catches off his body. He doesn't struggle to extend his arms and catch in traffic. He doesn't have that fear. So his ball skills and his long speed are big attributes for us. What was the other part of your question? I apologize. Yeah, that's one of the best parts about fall camp right there is everybody's going to get their shot, and the guys that show that we can't afford to not have them on the field, they're going to be on the field. Doesn't matter freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And we will play multiple guys. Like you said, we have multiple receivers we feel really, really comfortable with and confident in. And guys are going to play. That's going to help us in the long run of a long SEC season.
What have you seen from Colin Castles this summer, making the jump from spring to fall, and how much has Jacob Warren been able to help him in his growth?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what I was saying. You rarely see Joe without Nico. You rarely see Jay without Callie. So Callie, being older when he came in here, he had maybe less to do physically than the freshman. He's already a big, strong kid. He's since then actually put on about 15 pounds. He looks amazing right now, but he can run. He's a guy that can get in and out of his breaks really well. And not to keep repeating the same thing, but it's the same question as Brew and Joe. It's fun to see guys that have that kind of skill set when they get so comfortable in the offense that now they just go play, and they play fast and they play aggressive. And that's been since the very first time I talked to you guys a couple of years back. We're going to play fast and we're going to play aggressive. That's the non-negotiable here. So to see them being able to do it because they're actually comfortable in the scheme, it's when it gets fun.
Last 2 questions, Vince, then Rob.
What are you seeing going into camp and the competitions on the offensive line, specifically at left guard and right tackle?
Yeah, losing JC, who played a ton of snaps here, and whenever you lose a top 10 pick, I don't care the position, it's hard to replace. But I think it's the same question with the receivers. We feel great about our young guys. Some guys that came in mid-year, we feel like we're in a good spot. And whenever you have that kind of opening, that open competition, man, it just makes for practice to be intense and physical, and it really brings the best for the whole iron sharpen iron, because whenever there's true open spots, the guys go and they're trying to get them. So it makes for a great camp when you have those situations out there.
Coach, with the nature of the quarterback position and the transfer portal these days, it's probably going to be rare where you have 3 or 4 scholarship quarterbacks on your roster. Does that impact you as a play caller as it pertains to running the quarterback? Does that enter your mind at all?
Yeah, I think it always is. It's probably even more now. Like you say, it's hard to keep a lot of scholarship guys in a room. We feel really confident with the guys we do have in the room, but I think there's always been that with the quarterback. That's always the question, right? Is he's a good runner, how much you really want to run that guy? Because no matter who you got, whenever you lose your starter, it's just hard. It's hard to come in the second quarter of an SEC game on the road. I don't care who you are. You're preparing as the 2 all week, and you're taking all your reps, and you're mentally ready to go, but you're coming in almost halfway through or a quarter of the way through a game that everybody else is already playing. It's just hard. So